Got Anthony and Brian with me today. Brian Salem with the Salem team out of Avon, Ohio. I'm gonna have Brian, give a little intro for himself and who he is and where he's come from.
Awesome. Well, first off, thank you guys for doing this, being part of this, starting this. I think it's amazing what you guys are doing. So thank you for doing that. I hope you guys had a wonderful Easter. So quick background for me and kind of who I am. Grew up in Dayton, Ohio, went to Bowling Green, and then moved to Cleveland in 2001. So if everyone kind of remember back what was sort of going on in 2001, was going to go the corporate route and decided that was not for me. So quickly realized, hey, what do I want to do? I did a lot of soul searching, figured out, okay, I was 22. What do I want sort of my life and what does that vision look like? And then how do I need to get there? And for me, sales, entrepreneurship, something that I could control was what I wanted to go into. So after doing some of that soul searching and research, I kind of just decided real estate. I mean, everyone says, oh, I got into it because of the money and I love it, or their background. Well, I came to Cleveland not knowing anybody, not from here. Two people I graduated with from BG moved to Cleveland, so I did know a few people. But I got my real estate license in 2002 at the ripe old age of 22 is sort of where I started. And if you kind of just fast forward, a lot of what I built, my business and foundation on was people. I didn't know any people, so I had to get to know people. And so instead of doing a lot of the traditional kind of FSBO expireds, I tried that and hated it and I sucked at it. Was, I realized that this business, especially, real estate, is about the connection with people. And so in order to do that, I joined a lot of networking organizations, got involved with the community, was a big fan of giving back. So that's really where I kind of got my foundation start, was just meeting as many people as I could, getting to know them getting to know me. Here's what I do. Here's how I can help. It took about 5 years of learning, growing, failing to kind of get to the point where, I was finding some success and needed to grow a team. And for me, the team at the time grew a little bit more out of necessity. I had a lot of leads, doing internet leads, back in the mid 2000s, which was kind of ahead of its time then. So I, hired, and I had already had an assistant. And once I got to about 50 transactions or so myself, I hired my first buyer's agent. So that was towards the end of the 2000 kind of 7, 8. And then you kind of all know what happened then. But that time, actually, was when the Salem team was born. And today, we have 5 other agents, a couple support staff. My wife works for me. And then we had, recently moved over to EXP. So that's kind of the fast forward version of, where we came from and sort of how that got built.
That's awesome. I really appreciate that background, that's for sure, and how everything's come through, and you've been able to see a lot then in 18 years. Anthony and I were talking a little bit about this in some of our prep, you being an agent already through 2008 and going through that and actually building the team through that time period, coming into this slowdown right now, and who knows how bad this will turn into a recession, and how everything will be affected in the economy overall. But already having some of that background and experience has to treat you really well moving into this. So with that, and you mentioned past failures, how does that prepare you and fuel you right now?
That's a great question. Now, because there is a good amount that goes into that. Obviously, it's always about learning and growing. And with, growth comes change. And if you're just comfortable being comfortable, you're never going to grow. You're never going to expand. And, everyone has their sort of own definition of success. And now kind of where my sort of vision and where we're leading is more about the team, and the actual agents on the team has been the priority over the last few years. Probably about 7, 8 years ago, and it still is, but, obviously the foundation for us was more about, a family and starting a family for me personally. And now our focus is on giving back as much as we can to our team and our industry. What I'll say that I learned then, and what I think is going to carry on, I took, I think, kind of the mind for granted back then. I probably was a little bit, 10, 11 years ago, more on the arrogant side than I am today. And I just didn't think that, hey, I'm not going to let this affect me. I don't care. I'm just going to kind of do what I do, and probably felt a little bit more invincible, which was not the right mindset to have then. But it's where I was. And so now I think it's really just understanding the value you can bring to people and just getting them into the right mindset, and really understanding the value of relationships with not only myself and them as part of the Salem team, but just to people in the community and the clients, that's not what we did then. And that is certainly what we've been doing. And I think learned from that of what we're doing now, and have, we'll continue moving forward.
Yeah. I mean, that's awesome. Especially being in the business for, 20 plus years. The way I look at this too, I mean, when you started at one of the first bubbles of this century, in 2001, not only with the dot-com bubble, but also with 9/11 and a lot of stuff that impacted the markets. What similarities do you see with the real estate market then, real estate market in 2008, and now we're at a spot where you have some people saying we could have an incredible boom right after all this stuff, once the economy opens back up, and people could be out buying houses like crazy, or the opposite effect, this unemployment number could still rise. We don't know what's going to happen to a lot of local businesses. Companies could start to go out, and we see a total plummet. I guess the first question is, what do you see as some of the similarities being in this uncertain time right now compared to the last two? And for both of those different routes, how is your business going to adapt with both of those different potential changes?
A lot of great questions in there. So let me try to I felt like there was a couple of questions in there. I mean, certainly from 9/11 to the sort of bubble to, obviously the recession to sort of where we're at. The similarities though is everyone does need a place to call home, and things back then, just like they are today, it always is about the fear and the uncertainty of what's next and what's to come. And so the similarities is it's still similar conversations. It's just now we're talking about it in different ways. And I think one of the main differences though is what this has taught a lot of people though is what those things obviously had different effects for different people. I think this, you're probably beyond 9/11, if you will, is you're just seeing people in the country come together in a much more deeper rooted form than we did then. And I think that's going to be a big difference, but people still do have to buy and sell homes. And what we're going to see now versus what I think, what happened then and what I think we're going to see now is the way that we do business is definitely going to look and feel different, not only just in real estate, but I think just sort of as a whole. But I think people are going to now realize that taking that pause and sort of that reflection is going to make everyone just better humans. And I think that's what I've sort of seen throughout this. And when it comes to the real estate market, people always have to buy and sell. I think it is going to be more of probably a more lifestyle buying and selling than, hey, we're thinking about it. I think it is going to be people that it is more of the life-changing events in their own life that will sort of trigger this market. But the facts right now versus what the facts were 10 years ago is we're at an all-time low inventory. That was not the case back in 08 and 09. And with a lot of the changes in the regulations and the mortgages and just the economy itself, it's going to be a much more stable market, which is why I feel very confident from a real estate perspective. We're going to get through this, and there's going to be a much brighter light at the end of this when we get through it than what was, 10 years ago. Hopefully that answered some of those questions in there. I know it's kind of bouncing around in there, but hopefully that made sense on some of the similarities, but also I think what difference I think we're going to see. And I think it's going to be a much quicker rebound than what it was, a decade ago.
Yeah, no,
I agree with that. Yeah. Do you have any other follow-ups on that, Anthony, right now?
Yeah, I mean, I want to touch a little bit. I think, as far as that question, I love that answer. I mean, being a real estate agent myself, definitely don't want to see an '08 happen. I think what you touched on that I would love to hear more about was really around how things are changing and how people adapt to these specific situations, and not only with people looking at the lifestyle difference of this and how they approach buying a home, but now let's talk about in this time frame of uncertainty and with the coronavirus going on, essential business is real estate is definitely an essential business, at least on the construction side, because we're building homes as well. They're asking us to do certain things like make sure you have hand sanitizer, make sure you're wearing masks, and all these other different items that are making it safer for everybody to go about their day-to-day jobs. What are you seeing also from a real estate side, but knowing that we might not be able to get the masks because those are going to hospitals. We can't get the hand sanitizer unless, some of these other businesses that are starting to produce it. How are you staying safe in this environment when you don't really have the resources right now because they're being consumed by the hospitals, which is obviously much needed? If you could touch on that, I'm curious about, just for my own sake too.
Yeah, I mean, here's what we're doing, and I kind of wrote. I always make it where we either make a T-shirt or we make a video, right, Derek? So here's, and I wrote a couple things down that I think not only this is what I try to aspire to with our team, but I think just what we need to do with everyone out there in our community. But some specific things. So right now, there's the word empathy obviously has been, widely used as far as how we're dealing with, and I think how sort of society is dealing with the uncertainty. I mean, having these conversations is sort of for us where it starts. We have to have those just conversations up front of how they're feeling. How is this affecting them? You thought you were thinking about selling, and now your thought maybe has changed. Well, why is that? And so the first is we just really try to get back to that connection and value that we are here for them, and we need to hear them out to see what their sort of expectations are when it comes to what they're comfortable with and what they're not comfortable with when it comes to both the listing and sort of the buying side. Now, there's certainly the certain measures, when it comes to listings, that's where it's tricky. You mentioned, now we have here, booties and hand sanitizers and stuff like that we're providing to our seller clients of homes that aren't vacant. The homes that are vacant, we have the booties and stuff like that. And so it's the over communication, the expectation then to the agents that are showing it. What are they going to be doing? And what we're using first is we're really trying to, and Derek and I have been working together for about 6 years, but we're really trying to utilize the technology that we've had in place when it comes to the virtual showing aspect and the 3D, so we can really get the home out there. So if it's not a fit, don't go waste your time seeing the home. So we're having those conversations with seller too, that they could feel a little bit more comfortable that we're just not letting kind of anyone and everyone out there. And then providing, again, certain safety measures about who's showing it, how many people are showing it. You're right about the mask. I will say we've not necessarily gone there yet. Now, as far as providing those for our seller clients, I mean, the booties and hand sanitizers that we are, and of course, keeping the homes clean and stuff like that. When it comes to the buying end of things, it's a similar conversation because it's twofold. What's the buyer's comfort level right now, and what are they feeling? Well, then the homes that they want to see, what's their expectation, right? So we're having to kind of have multiple conversations to just make sure we're all using some common sense. And the safety measures we're having in place is obviously keeping our listings clean, bringing the hand sanitizer to our clients that are looking at homes. We're doing things like this as far as Zoom, as far, when we're having the consultations and stuff like that. So we're trying to limit as much as we can the in-person. And I do at the end of the day believe our business has and will always be about the human element and the interaction experience and the feel that people have when buying a home. I don't care what tech will be there. I don't think that tech in of itself will ever replace that human sort of interaction and connection of how people feel when they're, buying and selling homes. So with that, I mean, again, it's a standard expectation we're having with both sides of the clients, and then just using some common sense and some safety measures that, we have put in place, depending on kind of the situation and if, clients are living there or if they're not.
Okay. Yeah. That's
perfect. Yeah. It's just it's a very different time, that's for sure. And creating a lot of this content for you and for other agents, it's even just me going into a lot of homes, I'm wearing a mask, I'm wearing booties, I'm wearing gloves, all one use. My mask I actually wash, but booties and gloves are all one use. So I use them for one house, and when I move on, I throw those away. Lice all of my gear. It's like you said, the common sense, just trying to use common sense so that we're all staying safe. Again, we're all in this together. So how can we all work together to do that? So through this and over the last month, there's been a lot of challenges and a lot of change, obviously, in the team for you, and moving brokerages to EXP to be able to give a better experience, hopefully, to not just your team and your clients, but yourself and your family as well. On the leadership side, again, leaders of the land, what kinds of things are you doing as a leader to keep your team happy and thriving through this time?
Great question. That's probably these couple things I'm going to touch upon one at a time. So the first is, again, and this can go, this could mean a lot of things to different people, but the first is stay connected. So obviously we opened up a new office and thought that would sort of be our culture, and we it's brand new, and so that's had to change. So first is just staying connected, and we're doing that through, we've always had our accountability meetings and follow-up meeting, things scheduled and check-ins, but we're just doing it on kind of each agent has their own sort of level of anxiety and fear right now. So we're just trying to listen to them, understand sort of what their need is when it comes to connection. But we're staying it through virtual happy hours, our Monday morning accountability. Thursday is kind of our call, which we're just doing through Zoom. We've created a virtual office where everyone kind of has their own space that they can use and invite clients to, which some have taken advantage of that. So the first is, the connection and almost over communicating on a very regular basis, since we're not here every day, with each other. The second in what we're creating and doing is just making a difference. So it's just using some of what we've known and what I've learned through the past to, again, understand what they need to help them make a difference in their business with their clients. Now, right now, we've always done a good job of staying in touch with our clients and bringing sort of that value, but it's more important now to just understand how they're doing. Do they need anything? Can we help you with anything? And so sort of those kind of care text and calls, and really just checking in with a lot more purpose and a lot, bringing a lot more value than we have done before. Second is, or third, is just kind of understanding that you need to matter, that you need to matter to the people that are out there. And again, that can look, different for everyone kind of on the team, but just understanding that. And, one of the other things I sort of wrote down is just they need to kind of be authentic in themselves through this, because I've seen a lot of agents, and I think this is what's going to happen, is when we come out of this, I've seen a lot of agents who have only been licensed the last few years where this has been a great ride. And this is a huge gut check, like reality, like this will forever look and feel different and be different. And the problem is too many agents focus on the deal and not the actual people that are involved. And if they didn't do that, I think this is going to be a very big wake-up call. So I'm really trying to make sure, not only have I, but moving, now and moving forward, is they got to have that connection. They got to be real with people. They got to have that vulnerability, and they just got to be there knowing that, man, okay, they do need my help, or they did need an ear to, kind of listen in. So those would be the top kind of four things sort of with the team and, again, to our clients, that we're doing. But it's really just being there for them and letting them know we're there for them. and what they need.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, that was super inspirational. And I think definitely, there's going to be challenges that come out of this, like you mentioned, but yeah, I mean, it is a gut check for a lot of not only successful real estate agents that have been successful the last 10 years during this boom, but, entrepreneurs too, that this is really the first hit of adversity, of economic adversity that people are going to need to get through. So it'll be interesting to see how different individuals react to that. How have you guys changed your marketing through, and not necessarily just the videos and how you're promoting different listings, but how have you changed your marketing with the whole shutdown, knowing that, I've talked to some people that are like, hey, we might just take a step back from doing a lot of the marketing right now. There might be a negative perception of people being out there, not being socially distant. And then you have some others that are saying, hey, this is a good opportunity to help a lot of people and get out of these certain situations. I definitely see both sides, but how have you guys shifted your marketing approach to this, knowing that there's two different sides of this?
So great question, because there could be different levels of sort of defining marketing, and what I've talked about the last couple of weeks, and people are like, man, this is what you're really saying. It's like, yes. The clients who have called that have thought about or thinking about selling the last couple of weeks, who are just scared right now and fearful, we're just telling them not to list. So here's what we can control. Okay, are you okay if we do a call like this? Can we, keep you updated with the market? Can we keep you updated on what we're seeing out there? Can we start getting your home prepared? Can we do a quick walkthrough of your home so I can get you sort of a checklist? So we're kind of doing some pre-marketing of the house as far as getting it ready, so when they're ready. So a lot of clients, I've been telling it, maybe now isn't the right time if you're scared, and that's okay. The time will come, and so that's how we're handling, some of those clients. I mean, for those that have to sell, and again, the home is vacant, we've always had a very, I think, innovative, aggressive approach when it comes to sort of our marketing. The thing I would say we're changing it is we're just highlighting it more, where I felt like, doesn't everyone kind of do this? Like, I think we kind of just took like the knowledge we had and the expertise when it came to marketing and technology and what we were using. I think we did take it a little bit more for granted. That I've always been a proponent that our industry just needs higher standards. And this, to me, is what I feel will help come out of this on the other end, is the agents who now want to try to get into the game about connecting with people and utilizing the right technology and actually spending money on their clients' listings who hadn't before. If they can learn that, they will get through it. If they don't think that's important, they're going to be out. And, I'm okay with that. And I think our industry, is going to be okay with that. But when we're still doing, we're trying to do as much sort of digital marketing and, getting the home on into many eyes. We've talked about, and I've still played around with the actual like virtual reality, headsets and stuff like that. So there's still some things I'm working on and some projects when it comes to that. But we're trying to do as much digital, and I would say when it comes to the Matterport and 3D, we're trying to get that into as many eyes and homes as we can to eliminate, again, the in-person. And so I don't know if there's really anything we've changed, except for we've just doubled down on our efforts to just understand the message and sort of what we've done and what we have been doing and what we will continue to do is probably the only sort of addition I would say, through the last couple of weeks with this. And that's great because it's going to up our game for everyone.
So you're saying no more iPhone photos?
No, that was pre a decade ago. If you're still using iPhone photos, you get the hell out of here.
We're still out there.
Well, they need to get the hell out of here. That's insane to me. And then everyone is trying to jump on these Matterports, that's what I was trying to, I'm like, man, when do we start? I was like, so 6 years ago. And so we're always trying to stay ahead of, and we'll continue, when it comes to our clients and our marketing and our reach and the money that we spend to get it out. I mean, we're doing more ads probably now than we have done before to get the reach, a little bit out there. We're trying to do a little bit more of the previews and have some things ready to go again when it comes to more of the digital marketing that we've added.
Got it.
Love it. All right, a couple questions to kind of finish this up here. The first one, if you've got something quick to be able to share with somebody that has maybe only had a business for a couple of years, maybe they have a team or of one or two people, or maybe they don't have a team at all. Coming into this time right now we've been in this kind of period of like stay home for 3-4 weeks, somewhere in there. What small piece of advice would you have for somebody that's struggling right now, both mentally and with their business?
So here's what I would say. I mean, fear happens, and it is about how one reacts to it. So it's okay to be fearful, and it's okay to sort of be vulnerable. Until you can kind of really peel that back, you really can't sort of heal or understand what that looks like to be able to grow and move forward. Now, my advice would be, there'd be a couple of them, you said like one, but here's the thing. You can choose to just sit back and kind of play the victim, and just hope it'll just pass and be better. And unfortunately, if you take that route, you're probably not going to be in business. But if you look at the people where things were out of their control and they got shut down, it's about taking action. And to be successful is about the details. So to sort of realign or reshift and having that mindset and that attitude about it, that's where you're going to come out ahead and get through, and not get through it. I think be better for it and understand now you took the time to understand where your business was. Now there's some things out of your control. So how are you going to improve upon it? I mean, there's a lot of examples of what we've seen here locally and of course, around the world. Those are the people that obviously have been and will continue to be successful. So if you're new and starting in this and you haven't kind of experienced that, just take action and, and understand it is about the details and it's about the habits. So if you want to sit home and feel sorry for yourself and just make excuses, you're not going to come out of this. But if you're one to understand, dissect sort of what you can control and use your creative mind, to get out of it and just then take the action, you're going to be better off for it. And so will your business.
Love it. I love that. And then the final question that we want to kind of let you share with our audience then is what 3 local businesses that you think deserve everybody's support right now? What 3 businesses would you send people to?
Yeah, that's a great question. I feel like there's a lot of it. And here's what I've seen that's great. Like everyone's starting to like connect, through Facebook and Instagram, to local businesses. Now, one, I mean, I've just been great friends with him. And I think you want to kind of look and see how somebody's been able to adapt and understand this, is Ryan Krivosh and his family over at, around the corner in Vosh. I mean, that's been their whole family business for how long, right? And to just one day say you're done for right now, but to see what they've now given back into the community, how they're sort of adapting and what they're doing, I think is great. So that would be one, when you're kind of talking about, here, locally. I'm friends with the owner of Lakewood Firestone there in Lakewood, and yes, they're kind of considered deemed essential. But if you kind of look at sort of what they're sort of shifted their business, focus on, and again, I think one that it's interesting because not as many people are driving right now, but so that business is obviously suffering, and I think that would be, again, both of those happen to be in Lakewood. I mean, if I had to say, I guess a third one, I mean, I would say the toughest hit and the ones that are going to be the hardest to come out of this are these in like small businesses, but restaurants. And when I say restaurants, not chain restaurants. So when you say kind of name one, I mean, the Krivosh family owns multiple different sort of, restaurants and businesses, but if I could just cheat and group like local, like depending on where you live, like it's hard to just name one, but just supporting your local restaurants, they're the ones I think that are the hardest hit. And of course it's the servers and the bartenders that, I mean, they're the ones that do need our help and do need our support. Now we live in Avon, So, we've probably gotten a little more takeout from Mulligan's than we have going there the past year. But, they're here local in Avon, and when the times I've gone to pick it up, like actually people have come and donated stuff where they're selling and giving those tips to the bartenders, which I think is phenomenal. And it was actually pictures of Cleveland and stuff like that people have donated. And, if you buy it all, like 100% of whatever the cost, goes back to. So I would just say your local small, like, again, your sort of restaurants, your local restaurants and your small businesses, because I was on a call last week with someone who they're like a massage therapist, I mean, they're the ones I think that are really suffering, but it's tough because how do you support it? Well, you support it by going and being there emotionally for them and just sort of hearing them out and just kind of empathizing about their situation. So if you know anyone kind of more in those situations, I think try to go there. You can't really be there obviously physically, but on more of an emotional level. But the restaurants and then the Lakewood Firestone and the around the corner and Bosch would be the three specific.
Those are awesome. Yeah, those are great. So where can people find you to see what you're up to and get in contact with you?
Oh, I appreciate you asking that. So, you could go anywhere on any of the social media platforms. Everything's at the Salem team. So, Facebook and Instagram. Instagram is where we have a little bit of fun, where we just showcase what we do and how we do it, and what value we bring. And that's at Instagram at the Salem team. Facebook, same thing. At the Salem team, and then the website, at the Salem team as well.
Nice. Sounds good.
Yeah.
I know Anthony was curious about your TikTok real quick. But
TikTok. So it's been more my wife, but we're always trying to just do different things, have fun, and just in the comments she's gotten, again, it's just just being there for different people on different levels, and we like having fun and being creative, and all the credit goes to her. She's kind of choreographed, if you will, or came up with the ideas of the ones that we've done. We do have 2 more in store this week, so we'll see. We put those out on Instagram and Facebook as well. But it's just again, I don't care who you are, like what background you come from, what kind of business you run. I mean, I know it's been said over and over, not only are we kind of all in this sort, together, but we all, have a little bit of doubt and fear and uncertainty, but it is more of what's in our minds. And so sometimes when you can do those type of things, in that moment and kind of spread that, it just helps. You don't know who it's going to help, but I know it helps, people. So I know that's why we kind of have some fun, in doing those. As far as the inspiration, Derek, you're the one that helped me get, a couple of years ago, people are like, well, why in the hell would you dress up in, Snow White costume? One, because I don't think I ever would have thought doing it before. We've kind of put yourself kind of out there, but that's just what you got to do. People can relate to other people when they're just genuine and they're authentic and they're human. And, I wouldn't, wear a Snow White, costume every day, but just in that one moment to have a little bit of fun, just to kind of relate and connect and, put, smiles on people's faces is why we've kind of been doing those. And the inspiration just comes from, until you just get over yourself and understand who gives a shit, then that's where the creativity will open up. Absolutely. And that's a journey. It's taken us a couple of years. It didn't happen overnight, and we're still a long ways to go. But the more you can just kind of understand that and just not be so about yourself and let that go and be okay with it, like the more creative you can be, and then the more fun and entertaining things can get when the creativity.
That's right. Get out there, take action, like you mentioned before. Get out, have fun, publish stuff, make mistakes. There's gonna be some time here that we've all got. Let's get out there and do something, make mistakes, and find something that you love, and be able to keep going with that. So,
that's it.
Awesome.
That's it.
Thanks so much for your time, Brian. We really appreciate it. And
thank you guys.
Yeah,
we'll talk to you again soon. Oh, one more question, Anthony.
What's up?
So. About the hair, let's talk about it.
Oh God!
I really don't care who. I've heard a lot of negativity around your hair recently. throw all that out the window. I think it's awesome. I think you got great flow. I don't think you need a haircut.
Oh my goodness. It is the longest ever. And I'm usually like very anal when it comes to the hair of the
That's why I'm wearing a hat today. So
it's hard to control right now. And that's just it. I got to be okay with the lack of control over my hair right now.
Control what you can control.
Yeah. I mean, I only so much like doing in gel and whatever else I put in it.
Well, pay your barber, your hair salon is double when when you get back at it. But
yeah, that's right.
Awesome. Thanks, Brian. Thanks for your time.
All right, thank you
Talk
guys.
to everybody again soon. We'll be back soon in the next couple days with 2 more interviews this week already scheduled. And yeah, we'll see you soon. Thanks, guys.
All right, guys.
everyone.